it doesn't work.
Oh, beautifully. It's working.
It's working. We're doing it. We're doing it, guys.
I'm doing it well.
This is working. Look, it is on. Things are happening.
Facebook.
Totally working.
It's like we planned it that way.
First
or something.
try, too.
It's amazing.
I mean, technically one. This is probably your, I don't know, like 200th try. I'm guessing. Maybe 150th.
Okay. That's enough.
Okay. Okay. That's enough.
We're on the Lord's team, the winning side, so raise your glass.
Welcome to the Catholic Man Show. We're on the Lord's team, the winning side, so raise your glass. Adam Minahan here, sitting with David Niles. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Hallelujah.
He is risen.
Truly, he is risen.
Resurrexit.
Resurrexit.
Sicut dixit.
Dude, we are so good at Latin now.
Dude, I like...
Now that we are taking our Latin class, it's almost like we are just... It's bene. It's bene.
It's, majority bene.
Yeah. It's amazing.
It's just ridiculous.
It's really what it is.
I got a phone call from somebody asking me if I would consult on some older translations. They were looking for an expert, and
On translations.
they
of
heard I
Latin?
had been studying.
Really?
Yeah.
What did you tell him?
I said I'd be happy to help for a small fee.
First of all, be that you won't be able to afford.
Yeah.
And you'll be very upset with my work.
I Googled it.
How do you know? Yeah. It's a secret Google translation.
I have learned.
Do not
Under no circumstances should you trust Google Translate in the sphere of Latin.
No.
Lingua Latina, no notion.
You should. Okay. We have new listeners. We're on new stations in Texas. It would be good for us to rehash the story.
Okay,
of
yeah. So we, say cheers to Jesus. It's like one of our
things.
catchphrases, motto, mantra.
I'm gonna.
whatever,
Can I do this
will.
while you?
Yes. And so one day I was like, it would be cool to know how to say cheers to Jesus in Latin. There's this thing called the internets, and you can find stuff like this. You can learn things that you don't know. And so I pull up Google Translate, type in cheers to Jesus. It says Iu Bensium Jesu. And it's like, perfect. Done. And so I start saying it, and we start saying it for months.
Yes.
We're saying this, Iu Bensium Jesu. And then we go to Clear Creek with Brother Nesbitt. He was on our, you can go look up the episode. And then we say it.
Because you were like all proud.
We were just like, we basically.
Gonna impress him.
We basically speak Latin.
Right.
I don't know if you know this, Padre. Potter. But then he's like, as soon as the segment was over, he just starts cracking up. And he says, "What did you say?" And I was like, "Oh, Iu Bensium Jesu." And he's laughing even harder. He's like, "That doesn't mean anything. That's totally nonsensical." And it's like, "No, it means cheers to Jesus." He's like, "No, it definitely does not." It means like, I forget what he said, but it was like totally nonsensical. And it's like, oh. It's a good thing nobody else speaks Latin either, because otherwise this would be embarrassing.
Because for months,
right?
For months we've been saying it, and no one called us out on it. They just like, oh well, apparently they know.
Well, that's
how to
the
say.
thing. Nobody speaks Latin.
Right. So tonight we're gonna talk about festivity. We're gonna talk about the Peepster.
Yes. So
Joseph Peepster.
We got a really, really awesome bottle of scotch in order to be Festivus. Festivus?
I don't know.
Is that the right? Festivus?
That's very
Festivus.
very questionable.
I think maybe if I keep saying it,
it'll work.
It'll just be right.
Yeah, maybe so.
People will just come around to my side
maybe
of that word. Anyway, We are drinking. We should tell them
Yes.
what we're drinking. We're drinking Octomore this evening.
11.1.
11.1. So this is only a 5-year Scotch.
Really? The Octomore is?
This one, it's what it says. Aged 5 years.
But you know what? The Wee Beastie from Ardbeg is what
It's
only
also 5 years, right?
Yeah, 5 years and
So Octomore, I believe, kind of rose to fame because when it came out, I think it was the most heavily peated Scotch.
parts per million.
in the world.
It was the heaviest.
Right, and so here it has here on the bottle, parts per million is 139.6. I don't know like what to compare that to. Like Ardbeg, Lefroy, maybe they're like in the 120s. I'm just kind of shooting from the hip there because I did look it up one time,
I don't
and I
remember.
just am not really
I've,
sure.
I've looked it up as well. I can't recall.
I
myself.
think now there are other Scotches that are higher than Octomore, but I don't think that they're as good. I think that's, they're kind of like a one-trick pony.
Kind of like the one chip challenge.
Right, like I just went for Pete.
Right.
You don't really want to drink this,
Right.
So anyway, this bottle, it was like $190.
So it's expensive.
It's expensive, but when you're being fastidious as we are here in Easter,
yes.
for
The
the-
octave of Easter.
yeah, we are still in the octave of Easter. Go big or go home. You know what I mean? With prudence
Yeah.
as a guide, of
Right.
course. But let's cheers.
More on the Lord's team.
The winning side.
So raise your glass. Cheers. Cheers. Oh, and then shout out to Danny and Tony Molina.
Mm.
They're here. They've been listening to the cat. They have tried their best to figure out ways to cut purgatory, like to cut into the purgatory
Right, so
time.
they're suffering.
So they've been suffering and listening to our show.
And Lecter, Danny
Danny
Molina is here.
is here in studio with us. Yes.
Thank you for being here.
Yes. So what? Oh,
Molino.
Molino. I said Molina, didn't I? Did I say Molina?
You're
Molino.
like Hector Molina. That's what you're thinking.
That's what I was thinking of. Yes. So anyway, thank you so
Thanks
much for being here again.
Yeah. Seminarian in Nebraska.
Yes.
At Our Lady of Guadalupe Seminary. Excellent. So I haven't tried it yet.
I haven't either.
But
Jim is here as well, so no one can break in.
Oh yeah, hey Jim, would you call this Scotch yummy?
It's a nacho. It's delicious.
It's
Oh,
nacho. It's
better
delicious.
better than yummy.
So
The aroma is just like, wow. I haven't even got just like a foot away from my face, and it's like all over me.
the aroma
It's
says
awesome.
its initial notes of lemon, wet peat, pencil shavings, and salty. I tried my best to say pencil shavings and kept going without laughing until I heard you laugh and I couldn't do it anymore.
There's a competition among Scotch tasters that it's like who can come up with the most like random things to describe.
Well, then
the
we got
Scotch.
peach yogurt, cinder toffee, rubbery, smoky, almost anesthetic notes coming from the peat smoke.
Wow.
Well balanced with a green fruit and malty notes coming through the spirit, honey, malt, sugar, dried grass. I get that moisture out of there. Just good old dried grass. Come through with thyme, with a little hint of ginger and wood spice. That's just on the nose. So,
I believe it. I mean,
Do you get
how do
any
you-
sweetness? I haven't tried it yet. Is there any sweetness to it? Because the
I-
first thing it says on taste is brown sugar sweetness.
I
Hits the
don't
palate
know. I
initially.
was so like it is so powerful. I don't even know. It's like I just tried it and I'm still sitting here going like, what just happened? That is incredible. Finally, a beverage that's almost as manly as I am. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I like it. I just wish it was not
Wow, that is delicious.
$190, but it is good.
And it is sweet on the front. Like the initial is the peat comes in gradually. It starts out sweet with the brown sugar and then comes in.
You were right. It does.
It's very it also has that, so it says chili heat with high strength that carries Octomore DNA across the palate. It is clean. So it talks about even like chili. Remember when we had Ardbeg Korivrekken?
Yeah.
And it had that peppery
Yeah,
taste?
totally.
There is some similarities there with this one.
Uh-huh.
It's
That
really
is
good.
amazing.
That is a really, really good
How do they do
Scotch.
that? I don't know how they do that. Why isn't everybody doing this?
Well, obviously it costs too much.
It's hard to do, obviously, yeah.
So it was distilled in 2014 from a 2013 harvest of 100% grown barley in Concerto, a full-term fill American whiskey cask with Jim Beam, Heaven Hill, and Jack Daniels is the barrels that they use. And then it's 59.4% ABV, so I mean that's why it has a little bit. It has kick, so it's strong.
Yeah.
Has a kick to it, and there's a limit of only 30,000 bottles made. So
Wow.
Dave, so we are really getting close to releasing the Pat Flynn extra course that we're doing for the patrons on like strength, on fitness, on nutrition, the philosophy behind it, why it's important for men to be fit as a protector, provider, establisher of the family.
Yeah.
And then like the how-to with kettlebells. He's the kettlebell guy. We did a show with him. If you go back and just type in Pat Flynn on the Catholic Man Show, you'll find it.
Also, like, great philosopher.
He is. He's extremely intelligent.
Yeah.
So that course is coming out. I'm also in the process of working with somebody on getting. We're trying to get the rights to it first, but because that's always the appropriate thing to do.
Yeah.
But I think that we're going to be able to have the audiobook of Joseph Pieper's book that we're talking about tonight, In Tune with the World, A Theory on Festivity. So we're going to try to audiobook it as well for our patrons.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. This is something that happened tonight.
Wow.
So anyway, if you go to patreon.com/thecatholicmanshow, you can support the
Who's
show.
going to do it? Are you going to be the voice?
No, not at all. It's somebody else.
We should have Juan.
Juan do it in Spanish.
Yeah.
C. So anyway, if you support the show, 100% of your support goes to the show.
Because
Dave,
stuff like this.
Dave and I do not get a chance. Do not take any money for it. So,
No.
Starting my second week in the diocese this week. You know, so I timed it perfectly. I came into
5-day weekend.
Yeah, I timed it. I worked for 3 days. I got off 5. That was like perfect timing on my part, right?
I want to work for the church. Sounds awesome.
So, I'm really excited about working this week at the diocese. We have a USCC. Ooh, never mind. I don't know if that's public yet.
Whoa, bro. Pump the brakes.
Yep. That's something that I will be working on, though.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
Io bensiam Jesu.
Gonna get fired and they won.
Yeah, dude. I was thinking like, yep, you know what? That may not be public yet.
And for my first official move, I'd like to be fired.
Oh, I caught myself just like mid-sentence.
So the tasting notes I read said you need to add chilled water to this. What does that do?
It'll open
I
up
would
the...
be interested in adding a drop or two of water.
I don't have any with me,
That's
but
okay.
I
Wow,
can
it
text
is
Haley.
just amazing.
Haley can come.
Haley wants a Haley pour too.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
I'm trying to see what's the PT of this one.
Some water. What do you think?
Oh, it's really good.
Isn't it good?
It's
Are you a Lefroy guy?
Talisker.
Oh, I love their...
It's expensive.
Yeah, it is very expensive. Good job, Adam. Yeah, Margot's already giving me slack for that.
I
Oh no.
Oh,
bought
good. Deacon Garlic said we're happy to have me at the chancery. Thank you, Deacon Garlic. Whew. Okay.
I bought a bottle of Talisker's Dark Storm.
Yeah, that Dark Storm is so good.
Yeah, I bought it in UAE in my trip, and I forgot it I was running through like one of those conveyor belts, and I left it there. Yeah.
Okay, you ready, Juan? Say what?
Wow.
What?
It's public knowledge.
Oh, okay. I'm safe. Good. Thank you, babe. My beautiful wife, Haley Minahan, everybody. Thank you so much, babe. Jim, I'll let you go first, even. I'll let you...
I'll let you put the
Would you like some as well?
No, I'm good.
I am as well.
I will add some, just not yet.
Okay.
So this is saying the Pete here is like 139.
Mhm.
Octomore edition 7.1 comes in at 208.
Wow.
Ardbeg 10-year is 55.
Wow.
So this is like 2.5 times Ardbeg.
But the thing is it's not overpowered. I mean,
It's
It's there, but it is not like.
it's not like I'm gonna throw up.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not like I'm
It's delicious.
eating moss.
It's very well balanced, and
It
the
is.
finish is just so long and
Yeah, dude.
so awesome.
It's incredible.
All right, let's keep going.
Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. I'm David Niles, here with Adam Minahan, Juan Posada on the buttons. We've got two people guarding the door today, sitting in choir, if you will. We have the one and only Jim Spencer, and then we have Danny Molino, seminarian. He looks like Neo, so I wouldn't mess with him.
I'm not going to.
Yeah. Well, you're closest to him, so it's not going to be me.
Right. You're right.
I might instigate. You know,
Shocker. You are an enabler.
hey, Danny, he's talking crap about you.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the Peepster
Yeah.
today. We're
Joseph
drinking
Peepster-
a ridiculous, like, over-the-top scotch.
Mm-hmm. We're talking about
'Cause
festivity.
We want to talk about festivity.
It was interesting because I've been reading through this book actually through adoration, and I've been wanting to do a topic on festivity, and then it was your turn to pick the topic, and you had mentioned you wanted to do it, and I was like, well, let's just do it together instead of
yeah.
us.
I mean, here we are. It's right after Easter. If ever there's a time to celebrate, it's now. I mean,
And understanding what, how to celebrate.
yeah.
It's the same way with like leisure. You have to understand what leisure is in order to do it well.
Totally.
So you have to understand what festivity is in order to do it well.
Yeah.
And we go back to Joseph Pieper, who is a German philosopher. Don't hold that against him. He's a phenomenal Thomistic philosopher.
Because he's dead now.
He is dead. Yes, he has
Yeah.
passed away.
Yeah.
In the 90s, I believe.
Right.
But he's a great Thomistic philosopher. He did Leisure, the Basis of Culture, the Four Cardinal Virtues, and among other Abuse of Language, Abuse of Power, among other books.
He goes by the Peepster on our show.
On our show.
Yeah.
And so we're going to talk about his book, In Tune with the World, A Theory on Festivity. And it's another short book.
Well,
It's-
yeah, his books are really essays.
Right.
With only
couple
a couple
caveat.
exceptions. Right. Mostly it's a compilation of his essays.
Mhm.
So I like that because
You can actually read it and be done.
Yeah,
and
they're not
feel
very
accomplished.
long, right? Yeah, so you can handle it all. Like you're not going to be reading this for a month or something.
Right. And it's funny in here. So a lot of his essays actually are combating or like answering things that Nietzsche had said, because they were Nietzsche would propose something and then the Peepster would come back and say, well, here's how we would answer that in a
Right.
Thomistic understanding. But one of the things he gives Nietzsche credit for is Nietzsche said that it's not about being able to have a festival. It's about being able to find people who could actually participate in them well. So, which I think that's very accurate even today. It's like G.K. Chesterton said something like, New York City, downtown New York City is beautiful for those who cannot read. Because, downtown, there's all these lights, it's all colorful, it's all crazy, it looks amazing.
Yeah.
Unless you know how to read, and then you realize a lot of it's not very good or
Right.
moral.
Right.
So anyway, so we're going to talk about festivity. We're going to talk about this book. And I'm sure we'll be linking it to leisure because, that's probably a good way to start, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would say it's a sub-virtue of leisure.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
if I
Because
hadn't thought about it that way.
having a festival is a type of leisure. You know, leisure is not a type of festival, but festival is, you know, falls under the category of, you know, maybe like the fullest expression of leisure apart from the mass, you know, and because attending the mass is the highest form of leisure, but a festival is, you know, maybe next.
Depending on what it is, sure.
I mean, like,
and how well it's done.
Don't hold me to that, but it's up there. You know what I mean?
So he talks about, and I kind of just picked out about 7 different things he goes through on some keys or ingredients. Sometimes he calls them ingredients of festivals.
Okay.
And so I thought it'd be good to maybe talk about a couple of the, you know, some of those, and then try to figure out how to apply those in today's world.
Okay.
But so first of all, he says that festivals can only arise from a working day, you know, which would make sense. Like Easter, you know, without Good Friday, there can't be a Easter. You know?
He doesn't mean that you can't have a festival on Saturday.
No. He's just talking.
But if there's not a harvest, like if you haven't been working to sow and reap the crop, then there's not a harvest, right? You know, so this idea of having a festival, it needs to be something that's been worked for, you know, and that there's a reason that you're having it. Otherwise you lose an essential element in the attitude that those who are participating should have, and it's like this attitude of gratitude. You know what I mean?
An affirmation.
Yeah, exactly. An affirmation, as I believe
he says.
Yeah, he kind of calls it that. Otherwise, you end up with like, you know, somebody who just has all this money, and like everywhere they go, in every room of their house, there's like a dish of caviar, and like they don't care. Like it's just, oh sure, throw it all away.
Right.
I don't care about it. You know, you just totally take it all for granted. You know, so if you haven't worked, if you haven't participated in the prerequisite, that's, you know, just like what you said, like Lent comes before Easter. Without Lent, Easter doesn't have the significance.
Right, and I wanted to talk about also like Jason Craig, he does Spade, and gosh, I can't remember his magazine, but he has a magazine. Jason Craig, he does great. He has a great book on Boyhood as well, Defending Boyhood, I believe is what it's called. But I heard him give this talk, and he made a really good distinction between festivals and partying. Because, you know, when you think of festivals, you're thinking like, okay, let's all go party and things like that. Because here's the difference. The guy who took his dad's inheritance and went and partied.
Yeah.
When he came back, his dad slaughtered the fattened calf and had a feast. You know, the boy was going and running away from something. He was saying no to everything, and the dad was coming back and saying yes to everything. Yes to this, to his repentance. Yes for him to come back. And
sure.
And so festivals are not anything that we're saying no to. It's an affirmation. In fact, that's what Pieper says. It's the essence of what a festival is an affirmation. It's a good.
Right, and also a party is its own end. Like the end of a party is just to party. The end of a festival is to celebrate a greater reality. You know, there is a higher reality, and that's why you're having a feast. You know, as a way of like expressing the thing that you're seeking to celebrate. Right? A party is just like, oh, let's party. Right,
but when the prodigal son comes back, you know, and there's something a greater good to be
right.
Celebrated.
Exactly.
You know, and we slaughter the fatted calf.
A feast.
Yeah, put a robe on this guy. Like, how awesome would it be also to just get walk around with a robe on at a party?
That's what I was trying to say about the St. Joseph before we started recording.
Like it would be pretty sweet.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
I think it'd be weird in today's world.
Totally.
It would be a weird dude.
I would be willing to embrace it though.
But it would be kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, the prodigal son, he was the one, you know.
Not a bathrobe, though.
No.
Totally different.
Yeah. But the prodigal son, he went out and partied. He said no to all of his responsibilities. He said no to reality, the things that he.
And why was he partying? Just to party.
Just to party.
Right. Yeah.
And then blew all of his inheritance. He came back. His dad through a festival for him.
Mm-hmm.
And Jason Craig brought that up, and I'm not sure where he got that, but so that's not mine. But I thought it was a really good way to kind of distinguish between festivals and partying.
I like that. It is a good one.
So okay, so you want to get into the ingredients of what he says, which the first one we've kind of already talked about, but he says play, leisure has to be part of a festival.
Yeah, and I think that's so important because one thing that I learned from Sam Guzman, our buddy, the Catholic gentleman, is that in heaven, that's principally what we'll be doing. We will be at play with the Lord. Like this, it's like this imaginative, creative play, essentially. That like if you want to say like what will you be doing, it will be a form of play
Or rest.
Yeah, but it's both.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
Something I'd have to think about.
Totally.
But so yeah, the pleasure, leisure is kind of the first ingredient, which leisure, again, it has to be a realm of activity that is meaningful in and of itself.
Right.
So there's one. Contemplation is the next one he brings up. And when you think of contemplation, it's like, well, okay, so what are you talking about? Like, vocal prayer, then meditation, then contemplation. Is that what you're talking about?
No, I don't think so.
No, that's not what he's talking about. He's talking about the simple intuition of reason. He's talking about the mind's eye resting on whatever manifests itself before him. Like understanding that reality is reality. Understanding what is going on in front of you right now is really what he's talking about.
Okay.
You have anything else to say about that? Or?
No. I mean, it's. I have to think about that a little bit more, but
but you talk about that all the time. How like one of your main missions in life is to get people to just stop what you're doing and think.
And like be conscious for a second.
Right.
Like you realize that you're doing stuff right now.
Right. Which is part of
between checking your Facebook page, you actually accomplished something. I don't know if you knew that.
So,
like you drove, people are driving. That really scares me. Like
when they're
like there are thousands of people on the road right now who like might not even actually be aware that they're driving. I know this because it's happened to me. You get somewhere and you're like, oh,
how did I get here?
How did I get here?
Yeah. Or you just start exiting and you're like, where are you going? It's like,
I don't know.
You know
this is just the way I always go.
Yeah.
When I go places.
So when we get back, we're going to continue talking about the ingredients of a festival according to Joseph Pieper, and then how to apply it to our life. We'll be right back.
So good.
It is a really good scotch.
I'm so glad it's so
What do you
good.
think?
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It is really good.
Have you read this book before?
No, I haven't read that one.
Have you read
Is
much
it
much
in
Pieper?
Leisure?
I'm sorry?
Is it in Leisure or is it?
No, this is separate from Leisure.
Okay.
He actually though when I was reading it, I was like, yeah, I've read this before.
Well, that's like most of his work.
Right, yeah. I mean, it all kind of bleeds into one another.
Yeah.
But it's really good. I think, let's see, St. Augustine's Press puts it out in South Bend, Indiana.
Augustine's Press.
So anyway.
Yeah, 2 years ago for Christmas, I told my family I love Pieper, so they bought me like 10 books of
From
Joseph
Pieper. I'm getting close. Every time they're not up here. They're downstairs. Yeah, they're downstairs because I keep them
He's awesome.
by my bedside because I read a lot of it.
No, you're right. Like the short essays make it a lot more digestible.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And like you feel accomplished. You feel like, good, I finished this. I understand his stuff. I'm getting more and more where I actually read essays more than I read books.
Same.
I I read Nova et Verita.
Okay.
It's a publishing put out by St. Paul Evangelization.
Nova Verta?
Nova et Verita, yeah.
New Truth?
I'm not sure, but it's mainly a Dominican. I mean, there's Father Joseph White is one of the main one of the main editors. I think Dr. Scott Hahn goes through it. Yeah, it's really really good.
Is it a blog or is it?
No, it's a book that it's a subscription, and they'll send you a book, and it's basically a book that ends up being like 200 pages because it's about 7 or 8 different essays by all these theologians. Which is really
Defending
good.
Boyhood is Anthony Esselin.
Oh, okay. Leaving Boyhood Behind, I think is maybe what it's called. Leaving Boyhood Behind. Yeah, Leaving Boyhood Behind. That's what it's called, by Jason Craig. Reclaiming Catholic Brotherhood is the subtitle. That was close.
Happy Dingus Day.
I don't know what that means. I'm not even accepting that.
I only learned about it today. It's a real thing. It's a Polish tradition. You know what you do? You throw water on people. In Poland, it's basically like a big water fight all day. Not really sure why. Maybe it has something to do with baptism, but that's what they do.
New life, regeneration.
It's on Easter Monday every year. It's Dingus Day. It's short for something else. It's Polish.
Doesn't really matter. I mean,
But-
dingus works, right?
It was so funny. Father Cosgrove texted me today. He's like, "Hey, happy Dingus Day." And then an hour later, and I just said, "Who?" Because I thought it was like a saint or something.
Right.
About an hour, and he didn't respond. About an hour later, I was walking through the kitchen, and Pamela was reading out of her like Catholic year-round book or something, and she said, "Hey, do you want to add another Polish tradition to our repertoire?" And I said, "Yeah."
Yes.
And she's like, "Have you ever heard of like something Dingus Day?" I was like, "Yes." About an hour ago, and she there was like a little blurb in there, and she read it, and it's like, yeah, basically, you try to like dump a bucket of water on someone.
Do not do that here. There's too much equipment.
It just sounds awesome, right? Like, guys, I have my suit on. I will change.
Yeah. Just give me a second.
Wait.
Yeah.
I'll let you do it.
Sounds like
if you just wait.
my boys would definitely be in on this.
And it's called Dingus Day.
What'd they say no to?
Father Cosgrove is offering me $100 if I will throw water on you or Juan right now. Ah! It's empty.
All right.
I tried.
You tried.
I did. I went for it, but anyway.
Okay. Is this third? Yeah, this is third.
It's Mucho third.
Mucho third.
He didn't offer you any money, just so you know.
So please do not get me wet. Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. Enjoying some Octomore. Talking about festivity. Happy Easter, hallelujah. We are the Easter people.
So your kids been talking about the A word. My girls all Lent were like, we can't say the A word.
Dude, okay, let me tell you something about just getting old.
Yeah.
Because I've realized
My knees hurt in the morning.
the last couple of weeks
True
I've
story.
just realized that I'm getting older. Like you have these moments where you just realize the reality of what's happening.
Right.
You contemplate reality and you realize I'm just getting
Like you're
old.
sitting in a chair and you're like, I gotta pee, but that means I have to get up and like.
No, this is not the example I was going with. I was
I'll
going
just
with
sit here.
I was getting gray hair. I'm getting gray hair.
Okay, yeah.
But another thing that happened was like, so we're in.
But you're already married.
I'm already married,
You know, like,
so it's okay.
Who cares?
That's right.
You're already married,
I'm there. I've locked it in.
right?
So we're sitting there at Easter Mass, and Alleluia was right before the Gospel's going, and like I'm over here, like fighting tears, as they were singing like the Alleluia, and I'm over here like trying my best because I don't want to make a scene. I don't want anybody looking, like I don't want my boys looking like what's wrong with Dad, because that would be the first thing they say, and then it just brings up a whole deal where everybody's looking at Dad, and it's like just fight it. And I'm like over here, like trying my best not to cry on Easter Mass when the Alleluia was happening. I would never have done that, even a few years ago, probably. But it's just one of those things that happened that my dad has gotten softer in his older age.
You know what? It
Like,
happens.
it just like you your heart.
You
I don't
just-
know. Like
you
you just get
just-
softer.
You just I
You
agree.
just like, I don't. You just maybe get more.
Maybe softer is not the right word. Like maybe that's just what we think it is.
Yeah, maybe it's just like you're getting more in tune with like what's happened. Like
I think your
the
hormone-
emotional
I think
side.
it's your hormone
My
levels.
hormone levels are low T.
I cannot listen to a glory story without tearing up.
The glory stories.
Glory stories
the
are
glory
awesome.
stories are. They will get you.
Okay, so we're talking about festivity. We're talking about. We just went through the first two, which was play or leisure, was the first one. The second one was contemplation. The third one is the phenomenon of wealth.
Yes, you need magnificence.
But he's not necessarily talking about money.
Oh, okay. I see.
So he's not.
I see what you're
he's
doing.
not. He's not talking about money.
The plenty.
The plenty. So
Yeah.
he's talking about.
That's what we were going for with the
with Octomore.
With the Octomore, like something of plenty.
Right. So, but he's not even talking about material things, but he's talking about a magnitude of like charity, a magnitude of
Interesting.
of a magnitude of atmosphere among the community of commonality of us all being together to celebrate.
Yeah.
A spirit of cheer, of joy, and so there has to be a magnitude of that. In fact, so he talks about how the naysayer cannot enjoy a festival, cannot participate in festivals. Let's say he says festivity is impossible to the naysayer. And he uses naysayer in probably a different sense than what we use it in today. In today's world, we say naysayer is probably what negative Nancy is.
Yeah,
haters, whatever you want to call. But he's talking also about the money, which is something you.
Nay, sir.
Nay. Something that you kind of alluded to earlier. He says that the more money somebody has, and above all, the more leisure time they have because they don't have as much responsibility, don't have as much work, the more desperate it is for them to participate in this possibility of festivity.
Yeah, they just see it as more impossible, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's like they can't even imagine, like, this idea, this well-ordered idea of a festival. It doesn't make sense to them because, to them, that's like a Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
So what's so great about it?
So one of the things also though that you think about when it's the phenomenon of wealth is obviously Jesus' first public miracle.
Okay.
The wedding feast of Cana. I mean, this is just
Sure.
me. He doesn't bring this up, but that's just something that came to my mind whenever I was reading about this. Is obviously we're talking about an abundance of charity and things like that, but he also goes into talking about the abundance of material things if possible, food,
Right.
drink, things like that. And Jesus at the wedding feast of Cana, he didn't just make a little bit of good wine. He made a
Super abundance.
a super abundant amount because it was a festival.
Right. Yeah, or the feeding of the 5,000.
Right. Absolutely. So that's another one that he talks about.
And the important element here is that, like, why is a festival? Why are we holding it in such high regard? It's because there's symbolic truths to it, but there's also just realities behind it that, like, bring you in accordance with higher truths. We are the body of Christ. We are not many bodies, but we are one body. And so when you have a festival, you have all of these parts participating in an organized way in this one celebration. It's like, think about a potluck dinner. That might be a more down-to-earth example, something everybody knows about. You don't have to bring a whole dinner. You bring one side item. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, when you get there, there's no way you can eat all the food, right?
Right.
Just because it's
gluttonous.
Right.
If you did.
And so by you participating in just this little way, it all of a sudden you have everything that you need. Here's the whole body acting as one, celebrating some higher truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's why it's better than like, oh, it's great. It's a feast day. I'm gonna go out and go get a fancy steak dinner by myself.
Right.
That's a form of feasting, but it's not on the same level as a festival like we're talking about.
That may be more celebrating than a festival.
You mean a feast?
Yeah.
You going out for a
Go-
steak dinner.
Yeah, maybe more celebrating.
Right, but there's still like a feasting element to it, right? You know,
yeah.
like, oh, it's a special thing. I don't usually do this.
Sure.
I'm honoring, it still could be a good thing, but you're doing it by yourself. It's just not, it doesn't have all the same, it's
Right.
not doing it to the same degree as when you would come together as a community.
Right. The next one he talks about is affirmation, which we've kind of touched on a little bit, but he actually says that affirmation is the substance of festivity. That festivals are impossible, like to the naysayers, like we said, and the more money. I already said that the more money they have, the harder it is for them to actually enjoy and partake in festivities. But he says festivities live on affirmation. Even celebrations for the dead, like when we have All Souls Day or Good Friday, it's still a sort. It's what he says, a sort of festival. It's a sort of celebration, because this isn't something that we're, also this life isn't permanent, isn't what we're shooting for. It's the next life. And so in a Christian understanding of knowing what our end is, which is hopefully to be in front of the beatific vision, which is what he talks about, like earlier he actually quotes St. John Chrysostom about the essence of man and like how we are made for the beatific vision, and he uses the Latin form, which maybe you know what the Latin form of beatific vision is, but I can't remember off the top of my head, but beatifico visio, whatever it is.
I'm sure that's it. You
Yeah,
probably nailed it.
You probably throw an O at the end of it, and
Right.
it probably works.
Or an aurum.
Aurum, yeah. But that's what we're made for, and so even when we celebrate the dead and on All Souls Day, it's still a form of festival.
Yeah, so this idea of affirmation, I think this is like where it all, the rubber really meets the road, because this is where you're saying it is good that we are here.
Right.
It is good that I say it is good that you are here, and it is good to live. It is
good to exist.
It is good that we are. It is
Right.
good, and by saying that, you're saying it is good that He is.
Right.
So this is where you celebrate God's life-giving love. You celebrate the work and creation of Him. I mean, you can't, at the end of the day, you can't actually celebrate anything if you're not celebrating the Lord.
Right, and he talks about that. I mean, he goes into it. Shocker, but that's what he goes into at the end.
It's fake and hollow if you're trying to sell. And if it really is a celebration, in the end, you are celebrating God.
The divine.
Right, the divine, exactly. And so the affirmation piece is like, it's really, really big, because...
Well, like you said, it's the essence of festivity, or the substance of festivity.
Right.
Not the essence, but the substance.
And so, like,
philosophical terms
it's just something to think about when you're having, especially if you're throwing a festival. When we keep using the word festival, I'm thinking like a carnival, like the fair. And that's not, I don't think, what he means when he says festival. I think he just means...
Well, so at the very beginning, he gives a caveat at the very beginning of this book that the word festival means a lot of different things, and he does not go to extent of like trying to dissect exactly what festival means,
right.
Because it can.
Okay.
It's also used. The word is also used for after work, or vacation, or like, and actually a festival like what we think of, or a carnival. Like there's many different forms of what festival means in the Latin form.
Right.
So he goes, this is what they all mean. It's your job to kind of use that and understand that and transcribe it the way you want.
Exactly. So it could just mean any kind of celebration, really. But you need to have that element of affirmation, and the more obvious, the more overt it is, the greater I think the other ingredients become, especially the contemplation. If it's
on reality,
if it's very obvious, like this is why we're gathering, there's it's a joyous occasion, that just gives a more and better opportunity to bring that contemplation into it. And as you start to have that and gaze upon these realities in your mind's eye, you can find that rest and that joy, which is the whole purpose of
right. And that's your response, right? Your response is the joy of everything that is good, which is the next bullet point. So when we get back, we'll pick up there and talk about joy. We're on the Lord's team,
the winning side.
So raise your glass.
The more I drink this, the sweeter I think it becomes. And with a drop of water, the sweetness is really...
Smoothed it out.
Yeah, I mean, and it's definitely... You can taste the sweetness more. Yeah.
I'll try some water then.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm a notorious lightweight.
I-
so.
that's okay.
Well, I'm also like
just like 2 or 3 drops of water, it'll be amazing.
I know that there's like whiskey guys out there that take whiskey very, very seriously, aficionados that are very pro putting a couple drops of water in to open it up, and like
Some of them say like, oh, put a third water in.
yeah,
I mean,
And
like
I'm just
really water it down.
I'm just like a purist in that
Me
sense.
too.
like I just don't like
I
to
tend
do
to-
that very often.
I know, but the peat just is so good when you first just take a sip.
It is.
Yeah, man,
It
that
is.
first sip, it really was like,
I put my nose in
what just happened to me?
It was really, really good.
I was thinking a good man gear for this would be your Christmas gift to me, like a proper
Oh, yeah.
serving
Oh.
Yeah.
carrier.
So one of the things Juan is very good at that most people who go to the Catholic Man Show camp out know is he's good at feasting. He's good at throwing a festival. He's good at the abundance of feasting. You know, he's good at making sure that everybody's well fed. Not only well fed, but it's like high quality food.
I think I saw him eat 18 ribs one time.
Really?
Yeah, over at Carl Graham's house.
Is that like a rack and a half? What is that? Probably. Anyway.
I think I ate 12 and
so-
was going to die.
And so what I did was I got him for Haley and I got him for Christmas. We got Juan is big in mango wood. He likes mango wood.
Yeah.
And so we got him a
Is your
big.
bed made out of mango wood? Yeah.
We got him a big, like, platter, basically made out of mango wood for a serving platter, so he could put all of his different meats and veggies that he always cooks up, so that way he could serve it, whenever he has parties and things. Festivals.
From the grill.
Straight from the grill to the table.
So there's some guy named John on here
John.
on YouTube. He says, I heard if you throw water on a seminarian, it can bring you good luck.
John is an enabler.
He says that's not scriptural or tradition, just unknown folklore. Can't figure out how to say his last name. It's like Molino or something.
John is he's a patron.
He is?
Yes, he just became a patron, I think, this last month.
Sweet. Yeah,
So-
he says to throw it on Dan. Throw the water on Dan.
Well, I'm not doing that. He is my guest, and I think that would not be hospitable if I did that.
You could claim obedience, though.
I have no obedience to him. Yeah, I don't have an obedience to John.
I mean, like, some of the saints are like, if anybody ever told me to do something, like, he would do it.
I'm working towards the
Like,
saints.
wasn't Aquinas, like, he had something to say about, like, being obedient even to, like, the lower people in the order and stuff.
It's very Benedictine of you.
Yeah, I think it's, Adam, trust me, it's in there.
It's in there. All right, let's keep going.
Read the book.
Yeah, read
It's in there.
Look at all. You see those right over there? Just read those.
Yeah, you'll find it.
It's in there.
Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. I'm David Niles. I want to give a shout out to a listener named Aaron. Ask everybody to pray for him. He's discerning his vocation.
Ooh, yeah.
So everyone, please
Pray for Aaron.
pray for Aaron, if you would.
We actually had another patron reach out on our Council of Man page. He's discerning the priesthood,
Sweet.
and he was saying he's in Canada. He didn't know what the regulations were from Canada to the U.S. Just wanting some clarity. Is that right, Jim? Am I saying that correctly? Yes. Yes.
Clarity on what?
Exactly how it works, like. I don't know.
For Patreon?
No. For just the paperwork, I'm assuming, and everything like that, coming from the dioceses in Canada to the U.S.
Oh, he's moving here.
He's considering it. Yes.
Gotcha. I was like, What are you talking about?
Sorry. Yes. Father O'Brien, our good friend Father O'Brien is helping him.
Nice.
Shocker. He's like super helpful.
Happy Dingus Day to Father O'Brien.
O'Brien. he will laugh. I bet you he's driving right now and laughing
Yeah.
listening to this.
I
Okay.
hope so.
Okay, so we talked about before the break. We were talking about the affirmation part, and that'd be the substance of a festival, and their response to this affirmation is joy.
Yeah.
And I loved. Man, there were so many things.
Of
that
all
he
the
said.
quotes you have in your notes, the one you're about to read is my favorite.
Yeah, so joy is the response of a lover receiving what he loves.
Mm-hmm.
Joy is a response of a lover receiving what he loves. And I just like when I read, I was reading that in adoration, and like another moment where I've had these moments recently where I'm just like fighting back tears. I don't know what's going on here.
I'm a donkey on the edge.
Yeah, just living a glass case of emotions. But I just about broke down right then too. Reading that, it was just like that is just so beautiful.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
that
is.
is simplistic. Is just exactly no more needs to be said about it. It just that is it.
That is beautiful.
So a festival becomes a true festivity only when a man affirms the goodness of his existence by offering the response of joy.
Bingo.
So that's why joy plays such a huge role.
Okay, so I
So
want to
you can't be grumpy during a festival.
bring it. I want to bring it down to a practical level now because
Okay, so if you're on Sea-Doos, how are you going to be grumpy? You're not.
I've never seen a sad person
On a Sea-Doo.
on a jet ski. Yeah.
Right. Over the age of 12. Because
Right. I have seen some people crying.
but
But I still think they could have been happy. Just terrified.
joyfully terrified.
Right. Still happy to be there, but
What's
think I'm
Christianity
gonna die.
like? Joyfully terrifying.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Kind of. Yeah. If you do it right. Okay. So here's I wanna Adam throw out my personal struggles in feasting well.
I'm listening. I like when you throw out your struggles.
Because I'm like, all right, it's Easter, baby.
right.
I'm eating all the cake. I'm eating all the cake. I'm only eating cake, and I'm eating all of it. Right?
Had chocolate cake for breakfast.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
Right. Yeah.
And I have this tendency to just justify my gluttony because it's Easter, right?
Mm-hmm.
And under the banner of I'm feasting, and on some level it's like, I want to feast in such a way that is
Different than
proportionate to the gravity of the feast. And
Sure.
so it's like, yes, I should be eating cake all the time because Easter is that awesome. If Easter had never happened, there would not be a reason to ever have a celebration for anything. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? There's no reason to party at all or to celebrate. Maybe only party would be the only thing to do, just to
Right
try
away.
to pass the time, right?
Sure.
So it's but Easter did happen. So let's let them eat cake. Let me eat cake, right? You know what I'm saying? But I know at the end of the day, that's not it. You still have to be temperate in your
Right.
things,
Right.
So how do you is I will have one piece of cake. To me, that's not
Well, it
necessarily.
depends. So I think it depends on how you have already ordered your appetites.
Okay.
Right. So as you continue growing and you train your body to where your irascible and your concupiscent appetites are under control, where they're not controlling you any longer in your life, where you're not going out and just reacting to these
And
appetites
you
every
mean your
single.
intellectual and your physical appetites,
I mean your concupiscible and irascible appetites.
which are in layman's terms.
So concupiscible would be your sexual.
Concupiscible?
Concupiscible? Yeah. Concupiscible.
Concupiscible.
Yeah. So it'd be your sexuality,
I didn't say it right.
your sexual desires.
Uh-huh.
Your irascible appetites are those moments of instinct of either attack or probably gluttony would be another one, wouldn't it? I mean, wouldn't that consider being one under your irascible appetites? So when you have these appetites in order, where they're not controlling you any longer, but you are able to. That's why the importance of fasting, right? That's the importance of Lent. That's why we're you're denying the good.
To put yourself in control.
To get yourself back
right.
into control. You have a clearer understanding of how to celebrate well. So whenever you have denied yourself, and you've said no, my appetites are not controlling me, but I'm controlling my appetites. Then you no longer have to, or you don't have to worry near as much about gluttony, or you don't have to worry near as much about overdoing things or reacting or acting on impulses, because the virtue is already there. The habitual habit of denying those impulses over and over again have already been kicked in, and so are already kicking in, and so nope, that's a little too far. So it's the same way with it would be great to have 3 really, really nice beers, in this festival. I know that it would not be good.
Hilarity, here we come.
Right, yeah, exactly. It's I know it would not be good for me to have 6 really nice beers in this festival. Even though I probably could do that, and that would be a way of celebrating, but I know my appetites would not, my person would not be able to sustain that.
Because you're not man enough for it, right?
Sure.
I'm
yeah.
just kidding.
Sure.
I'm
whatever.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
That's not the.
But that's the
That's
importance.
not what we're trying to promote
so that's
here.
so that's the importance of making sure when we're talking about being temperate, and we're talking about understanding and continually denying your appetites and being in control of them. And you can only feast whenever you do have those in control.
Absolutely.
You can only enjoy them and for the sake of their goodness when you do have them under control. If we had Octomore every single episode or every single day, it would not be such a treat.
Yeah.
It would eventually just be another drink that we've had.
Also, we'd all be broke.
Yeah, no, after week 2.
Right.
You have
Not a bad way to go broke, though. We'll throw that out there.
So I mean that would be my answer. It's
I think that's a great answer because I 100% agree that when you fast, you learn to be the one in control of your appetites instead of your appetites being in control of you. And so when you feast, you need to maintain. That's actually why you fast first. So when you feast, if you are releasing control of those appetites, that's actually not feasting. That's debauchery. Okay? And that's not what we need to do. So we need to, yes, feast while we maintain control of those appetites.
And when you do, that is feasting well.
Exactly. So whether you're having 3 pieces of pie or
3 pies,
or 3 pies, as long as you're doing it while you maintain that control over, you're not just doing it as a reaction or out of desire. You're doing it intentionally. You're saying, yes, this is how I think we should be.
Well, in fact,
acting.
Brother Father Maury told us whenever he was giving a talk to us, he said every time you sit down for dinner, you should have one thing that you give up that no one else knows. That no one else. 10 people could watch you eat, and not any 10 would be the exact same answer of what did he give up for this meal.
Yeah.
So every time you feast, you still should have some sense of denying yourself something, and it be just between you and obviously God, and no one would really know about it.
Lady Pamela was telling me, she was reading in one of her Catholic mom books, that for Lent, this family, they pray and then they all count to 40 before they eat. They do that during Lent.
What a great idea.
Every day at Lent, they count to 40 before anyone eats after they pray. I thought it was really funny and also really brilliant.
That's awesome.
San Jose Maria Escrivá says that a meal eaten without a sacrifice is a meal eaten like a pig.
Right, and
Yeah.
I think he pulled that quote from that. Yeah. So, we're about to run out of time here, so I want to make sure we touch on the other two, which was pretty easy. So it has to be in concrete form. So it has to be in reality. And so he brings up, music, art, the liberal arts.
Yeah, bring the beauty.
Bring the beauty into the festivities. It brings in
'Cause
reality.
Beauty brings truth.
Right.
Helps you with all those things. Yeah.
Right. So that's one, and the other one is it has to be public in nature.
The
Which
body of Christ.
The body of Christ. We
Yep.
kind of talked about, we're all in communion with one another. So it
Right.
has to be. So it needs to be a public event. It needs to be something that we all gather together.
But you need to bring yourself well ordered to the feast, because it's kind of what Nietzsche was saying, is the hard part's not having a festival, but finding anyone who
can enjoy it.
Who can enjoy it. So bring yourself with the willpower that you have gained from the fast. That way you don't have to enter into feasting with scrupulosity over your shoulder, right? Like, because you cannot feast
Right.
while being scrupulous.
Right.
It's the demon are waiting on either side of the virtue.
Right.
Right. And so.
So if you're listening on the radio right now, go check us out on the Catholic Man Show. We're going to talk a little bit about Merry Christmas and the best wishes of Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and how this relates to it. So go check us out at thecatholicmanshow.com. We're on the Lord's team.
The winning
So
side.
raise your glass.
And cheers to Jesus.
Dave, I think that, will you read that? If you'll read that little section right there. I know that it's 3-4 lines, but I think it really brings home. I thought it was really interesting.
Should I do it with a German accent, like as if I was the Pieper?
I don't think that would be the
Zippy.
best.
When a festival goes as it should, men receive something that is not in human power to give. This is by now almost forgotten reason for the age-old custom of men wishing one another well on the great festival.
No one is. Okay.
All right, I'm sorry. Swedish really, I think, would do this more justice. When a festival goes as it should, men receive something that it is not in their power to give. This is by now almost a forgotten reason for the age-old custom of men wishing one another well on great festival days. But the real thing we are wishing is the success of the festival celebration itself, not just its outer forms and enrichments, but the trimmings. But the trimmings? Not just the outer forms but the trimmings, but the gift that is meant to be the true fruit of the festival. Renewal, transformation, rebirth. Nowadays, to be sure, all this can barely be sensed behind the trite formula, Happy Holidays.
Right, so I mean that was awesome. Whenever I read that, I realized that when we say we wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish that you have not only that you feast well, but that the divine, like that you encounter the divine. That's what we used to say. Now obviously that goes all for naught when you say Happy Holidays.
Yeah, and it's so important to do this because feasting, like leisure, this is a form of leisure. It's like it's what life is about. Mm-hmm. Life is not about working.
Right. It's about rest.
And it's not about success.
No. It's about rest.
In your endeavors. We should seek to be successful in our endeavors, obviously. But life is about rest. We were made to rest in Christ.
So we say eternal rest grant unto them, O Lord.
Right.
He may rest in Christ.
Right. In the garden, there was not toil. That's not to say that there was nothing for man to do in the garden. He still had to oversee the garden, right? Mm-hmm. But he didn't have to toil in the garden like man does today,
right? To
bring about the same fruit. So this is what we're made for. This is when we have a feast, when we have holy leisure. These are the moments where we glimpse into the good things that the Lord has desired for us. It's when we get the closest view of that which eye has not seen, ear has not heard. What it is, those great things that God desires to give us, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why it's so important to do feasting well, to know how to do it, and to practice it.
It's because it's a preparation for eternity.
Exactly.
Just like friendships, just like
right.
Leisure festivals is a preparation for the other side of the veil.
But it's not enough just to know. It's like, oh, okay, cool, I'll do that next time, because this is a virtue. It needs to be practiced. Like, you can't just listen to this or read Pieper's book and then like, oh, yep, okay, I know how to feast now. I'm like a pro feaster because I read the book. Mm-hmm. It's something that has to be learned. It's a habit, right? Mm-hmm. Just like all of the other virtues. And so it's luckily it's something that we need to really practice a lot.
Well,
And Easter is a great time to do it. You know, we're in the octave. Like
Right.
every day is a feast.
Right. And in true Benedictine form, hospitality plays a huge role
Right.
in festivities, right?
That's why I hope I
the
get-
virtue of hospitality.
So I hope I'm rich someday, so I can just be like super hospitable.
Hospitable. Practice the virtue of magnificence.
Yeah.
Yes.
God, I would be so magnificent.
Yeah, so I mean that's something that my mom is really, really good at is the host. And your mom, I mean,
Yeah.
both of our moms are really good
indeed, they are.
at being hospitable. Like so for instance, this Easter we had our family come in.
Also, Jay Thomas.
Jay Thomas.
Jay
is.
Thomas
Deacon,
is like
Deacon Jay Thomas.
Thank you, Deacon Jay Thomas. Thank you.
Is a
And his wife Kelsey. The Thomases.
right.
And
the Posadas.
Outstanding.
The Posadas are another one.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Juana is pretty good as well.
They're pretty good.
But so one thing that we did that I thought was really good, like for our family, this Easter weekend was my family all came into town at my parents' house, and we had a wiffle ball game. We picked side, we drew names, picked teams, played wiffle ball. Then afterwards, when we were done, we came in. We had like refreshments. We cooled off. We had a nice dinner prepared. My mom went above and beyond to make sure that the table was all set really nice. It looked festive. It looked appropriate for the occasion. Apropos, yes. And we had music playing. I mean, it was just like everything. All the little details were there to make. To cultivate a good time together, to generate the memories, to generate or to create the memories, and to. Are you gonna just put that up?
Yeah. We were talking about hospitality. It's like I'm taking that home.
But so I think tradition plays a huge role in festive. Will help. Play a huge role in festivities.
Totally. I'm glad you said that.
Tradition is a huge part of.
As long as it's rooted in the divine, which is something
Sure.
that Pieper talks about in Leisure: The Basis of Culture. That if tradition is not rooted in religious truth, then it actually becomes a new form of work.
Well, it's very similar to friendship.
Yeah. But
I hadn't
friendship,
really thought about that.
friendship
I mean,
though has
that's
a natural good apart from a supernatural good.
Sure.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not quite the same. But if you have a day that if there's a federal holiday, and there's all these traditions that you have to. This is what we do on this day. Why? I don't know. Someone in the government made it up, and they thought it would be fun. Mm-hmm. And okay, there's not a real reason to it. It's just what we all do. It ends up just becoming work. There's just one more thing I have to do. And, so if it's not rooted in the divine, then it actually isn't leisure. And I think we were talking about that with festivals. I actually forgot where. Forgot how I got to that point. But that is nonetheless true, no matter if I forgot what I was really saying or not.
Thus saith.
Yeah.
David, Don David.
Dixit. Sicut Dixit.
Sicut Dixit. Don David.
As he said in Latin.
Nice.
Yeah. See, I basically...
You can speak it. I mean, you're
I'm
almost fluent.
mucho fluent over here.
Mucho bene.
Yeah.
I am going to start just mixing Spanish
I do
and
it all
Latin.
the time. I'm
Yeah.
way ahead of you, okay?
Okay. Anything else you want to talk about?
What's apart from this Easter, what do you have any pro tips? Feasting hacks, so to speak.
Feasting hacks?
Yeah.
So here's something else that I do typically around my birthday is that I invite most of my friends over. I didn't invite you this year, but next year maybe you can make the cut. But I invite
so.
I invite most of my friends over, and we have I smoke ribs and brisket or a pork butt or something like that all day long, and then we have little swimming pools or something like that for the kids. I think that as long as to me it's more about the details of the event. So if you are hospitable and you're focused on your guests and what they may want, then that's going to generate a better festivity than just like, let's just throw some things together. So you're aware of your audience, and so I make sure that the kids are taken care of, because I have been to parties where we have 4 kids. There's a lot of families have 6, 10, 12 kids, and so it's hard.
Some have 30
kids, yeah,
right.
Crazy. But sometimes parties are more work than leisure, because all you're doing is chasing your kids around, and trying to make sure that they're not breaking the home that you're in.
Yeah. Do not jump on that couch.
Right. And so if you have some order in your family,
the magnitude of punishment that will come down upon you if you jump on that couch.
So if you have order within the family, but you also are give them something to do, to where they can be together. I think that helps. So whether it's some kind of craft for the kids, you facilitate ways of community within with the wives, with the husbands, with the kids, and all of us all together. How do we be in communion with one another in our age ranges, but then all as a whole body of people who are in festivity? That probably did not answer your question, but that's what
I was looking for, something a little bit more specific. But
I'm trying.
I have one.
Okay, Juan, go ahead.
Has one.
So what we do in my family is we look in the calendar of the month, and we see what feast days of saints are coming, and we see, Saint John II feast is coming, and he's one of our namesakes. So we have we throw a party.
My godson.
Your godson. We throw a party in honor of that saint, but that's a way to throw a feast and
have cake.
Yeah. And order your life semi-liturgically, right? When you take those feasts into considerations. And it just gives you so many opportunities to practice perfection in feasting, because there's a lot of feast days out there.
I'm just excited to perfect feasting.
Right.
Sounds fun.
Right, I know. And it's what I like to do, exactly what you're saying, is to take a calendar and all right, whose feast days are this month? And then in that moment decide, I have a very strong devotion to every single one of these saints.
Well, one of my
not previously, but as of right now going forward.
Yeah.
I am
St. Cuthbert. I am a big fan of you.
Me and Stanislaus, we go way back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
One of my favorite traditions that has been going 3 years strong now is for St. Michael the Archangel feast day. I have a piñata with the devil's face in it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
and the
awesome.
kids just beat on that piñata, and then we usually have a priest over, and the priest delivers the final blow.
Yeah.
In that piñata with a
I have some
bat.
sweet pictures over the years.
This next year we're gonna have a real sword fight. It's gonna be awesome. Santi versus Jude. It's gonna be sweet.
Things are gonna get ugly.
Yeah, they'll have pads on.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Okay, good.
But I think a good thing to do, I've been to some, exactly what we're talking about. Hey, it's this great saint. Let's get together, celebrate his feast day. I recently went to a party for Saint Joseph. On his feast day. This is the year of Saint Joseph. So you could all year you could have a party for Saint Joseph any day. It's the year of Saint Joseph. Why not, right? And I've been to a lot of these. What I think is a really, really nice touch, which has a way of kind of bringing all these elements together, is incorporating the Angelus into bringing prayer into it. I mean, it's that's why you're here. It's we're not just using this as an excuse to eat cake. Although that would be cool, but
on a natural level.
For me, that's all. I mean, I'm
sure.
And
that brings back, you're bringing in the divine.
Right, exactly. But it has a way of orienting the party, I think, towards the end, which is why we're here, is to celebrate this great work this great thing that God has done through this saint, or whatever it is that you're celebrating. It doesn't have to be the Angelus, but
just some sort of
the
form of
Angelus is
prayer.
a good one to do. It's not too long, and I was going to say everybody knows it, but actually everyone doesn't know it, but everyone should know it. And so it's like, chances are you can help educate some of the people who are there. I mean, you might have people at your party who have never prayed the Angelus.
Right.
That is very possible.
One of the best things about working from home, when I was working from home, was that I had the opportunity to pray the Angelus with my wife and kids every day at noon. And so you pray. So if you set an alarm on your phone at noon and just label it Angelus alarm, at noon during lunch, if you orient a lot of your prayers with eating, you won't forget to pray because you won't forget to eat. So you're going to pray. So if you have the alarm there, then it's very easy to pray it and get into the habit of praying it. But praying it with the family, praying it with a group of people is a great way to bring the divine into bring yourself into the divine of the event.
Yeah, so I think things like that, and if you're the one hosting, even if you're not the one hosting, you can just
suggest
say,
it.
Yeah, hey, it's
noon.
And the thing about the Angelus is you can just say, hey, it's 3:00. You guys want to pray the Angelus?
Right.
It doesn't have to be noon.
Right. Or the Divine Mercy Divine Mercy is another great one.
Right.
So, anyway.
Yeah. So, make the feast about... Make the feast about what it's really about,
and be intentional. I mean,
don't be afraid to make it the real deal.
No diggity.
Yeah,
no doubt.